Hello, welcome back, guys, to the Bite Size Podcast with Lorraine Michaels. I have such a wonderful human being with me today. Her name is Holly, and she is a conversion copywriter for purpose-driven brands. And I absolutely love that. And I have loved getting to know her briefly before we got started. Today, we're going to talk about all things copywriting, probably a little bit of faith because that's just who we are. But help me and welcome Holly.
Oh my goodness. Thank you, Lorraine. I'm so excited to be here today.
Thank you. I'm excited to have you. So, I just briefly mentioned what a conversion copywriter is, but I don't know what exactly it does. So please tell us, what exactly do you do?
Oh yeah, I'd love to. Okay, so there's lots of different styles of copywriting. There's content writing, but conversion copywriting is very focused on the sales. So I do all aspects of the funnel from the Facebook ad all the way through to the funnel, the lead magnet, landing pages, email marketing, all the way to the very end when you're at the checkout page and you're getting your onboarding email saying, great, you joined the course, or, yay, you bought the product. So I specialize in email marketing. That's where I really, really shine. But in order to be really good at email marketing, you have to understand all the phases of the funnel and participate in that. So yeah, it's very sales focused, and I really enjoy it because I get to focus on creating exceptional customer experiences.
Yeah. Which is huge right now in this social media market world, because there's so many aspects of it. I get overwhelmed myself with all the different funnels, because to me, when I hear funnel, I think of exactly that, from bigger to smaller, but I feel like there's so many legs in it. So how did you come into this? How did you come into this world? How did you find this?
Yeah, so funny story. I actually wrote a award-winning novel that won a publishing contract. So
How cool.
I needed to like figure out how to sell stuff
fast.
So I got online. Yeah. And I was like, okay, well, I got to figure out how to do this. And so I ended up, I think it was Marie Forleo's B School, ended up in there. Lots of people were commenting on, hey, I'm launching this, I'm doing that. And they put it in there, hey, can you look this over? And I'd look things over and I'd be like, oh, well, this could be said so much better. So I just kind of had a natural ability to recognize when wording could be stronger in marketing.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I invested in a copywriting course with Copy Hackers where I really came to understand how to think like a copywriter, because copywriting isn't just words and me writing creatively. Actually, really good copywriting is data, and it's science and art mixed together. And if we want to get really, really good, we want to talk to our customers and join the conversation that's happening inside their head and bring that out onto the web so that they can recognize themselves and they see that you really truly understand them and that your product is actually there to solve their problems.
I love that, because I think a lot of people miss that because they're so focused on their product and getting it out there and selling it. I think that piece is missing a lot of times. I don't know. Is that what you find?
Yeah, absolutely. Especially if you're in a starting out phase, it's really easy to think like, okay, I've got this idea and I need to put it out there, and I'm just going to build my little course or build my product and just put it out there. But the truth is just because it's an idea in your head doesn't necessarily mean it's what the market wants. And so your idea is probably a really good idea, but you have to see if there's market fit. And the only way you can do that is by talking to your customers and seeing if there is an interest. So interestingly enough, I just did a workshop for creators and just teaching them how to really perform well on Etsy. And one of the things that came up was she said, oh, I really like doing this kind, this style. I think she printed hymns like out by calligraphy, and she did like really cool art with it. But she said, but I'm finding like more people want custom work. And I'm like, well, dive into that. Like if people are asking for the custom work, then pivot and spend your time there. And she's like, yeah, I'm really passionate about this one idea. And I'm like, it's great, but build off of that, right? Like you're passionate about it because it means a lot to you. But what you're looking for is the product that many people are passionate about.
Yeah.
And so it can still be the thing that you care about, but just pivot it so that it is something that really serves other people as well.
Yeah. What about to the business owner that is not getting the feedback? So I know when I built my coaching program, market research was huge because like you said, what is important to me might not be important to you. But what about the person that's not getting the feedback, that's posting and nobody's engaging with their stickers or their polls, or, they're having a hard time of what is it do you want? And I'm here to serve you, but I don't know exactly what you want.
Yeah. So there's a couple things I would recommend doing. One is like, if you're on Instagram or if you're in a Facebook group, offer to do some sort of free training where you can really showcase your expertise, because sometimes it's just a matter of people aren't maybe understanding the language that you're using. And you're like, hey, do you care about this? Because it might be just the way that you're saying something. But once people actually see it on display, then they start to ask questions. And then you really want to take note of, okay, these are the questions they're asking. So why are they asking it? Why would they come up with this question to ask about that? So that's the first thing, is do a couple things that you're on display. And that means getting out of your comfort zone. For a lot of people, it's safe to ask a couple questions on Instagram in a survey. But if you are serious about growing your business, you have to get uncomfortable. So get out there on that live, do something and just say, hey, maybe you've never seen this before, but I wanted to explain what I do. And then you talk a little bit about it. Then watch to see questions come up. If you're still getting crickets, then I would say it's time for maybe looking at a pivot, because even if you're shining and if you're in your moment of brilliance and you're showing off your genius and still nobody is connecting with that, you might need to either change audiences where you are. Like a lot of people will be on Instagram, but it's like, is your audience on Instagram? Is that where they're hanging out, or are they all hanging over at LinkedIn? Like maybe you need to be over on LinkedIn. So that's the other thing too, right? Is knowing that you're in the right swimming pool that you should be in.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. That's good, because I know me personally, I was everywhere and trying to keep my content mainstream, so making one video and posting it multiple platforms, but I wasn't everywhere, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Like I don't hang out on LinkedIn at all. So I was doing that, and I was feeling overwhelmed, and maybe like I couldn't keep up with everything. So I just stopped everything. And now I'm only Instagram, and my Instagram's connected to my Facebook. So if I post on Instagram, it posts on Facebook. But what would be your advice?
Yeah. And I mean, if your audience is hanging there, go ahead.
Yeah. I was going to say, what would be your advice? If they are doing that, the one stream of content that's going everywhere, I would think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I would think maybe the copywriting would be different for different places, right? Because there's going to be different, like you're saying, different pools, different people are going to be there. So different copywriting would resonate different on the different platforms.
Yeah. Well, again, it's about talking to your customer, right? So at Instagram, people are coming there, they want to see either a video that's giving them a tip, or they're basically, just going to engage. It's a really fun place. Same with Facebook, right? Everybody's like, leads and their group. So how do you add value to that, right? So if you're in a Facebook group, which is, let's say you're a coach and you're in a Facebook group for fitness, we'll say, then displaying your expertise, and you have to get a little bit, crafty about it, because you can't, in some Facebook groups, you can't just be like, hey, I need customers, right? So that's where having some social proof works, is just like, hey guys, I just want to celebrate my big win. My client just lost, X amount of pounds or just gained this much muscle. And she followed my steps and we did it in 3 weeks together. High five. I'm so amazing. Like, I'm on my way, and then that way you're sharing your expertise, you're sharing all this social proof, and you're actually actively asking for clients in that without saying, hey, do you want to be my client? Right.
Yeah.
So sharing in Facebook groups is different. And then on Instagram, you want to have those call to actions. That's where your copy comes in, where you're really using what's called the AIDA formula, which is intention, interest, desire, and then action. Right.
Right. Yeah.
So there's lots of different ways that you can speak on the different platforms. But again, I would say when you're feeling really spread out, you can build so fast when you're laser focused. So I would encourage you to say, okay, master something, like hit a goal. I know for some people it's like, okay, once you're at 10,000 in Instagram, okay, then look at Pinterest, or then look at this. And then, you can hire somebody to just repurpose all of your content that you've put on Instagram onto these other places so that you can leverage your time and your success a little bit quicker. So those are some things that are done on the different platforms. Yeah.
So talk to us about your method.
Yeah. Story flow.
Yeah.
Well, I love teaching this method. It's a method I've come up with because naturally I'm a storyteller, right? I got into things because I'm a novelist, and now here I am in copywriting. And I love it because there's so many people who say, I can't sell. I don't know how to sell. Selling feels uncomfortable to me, really gross. Okay, take that off the table. Can you tell a story? Because yes, you've been telling stories since, you were born pretty much, right?
Right.
So you can tell a story. So what my story flow method is follows, it's for story, and then the acronym of flow, which is F for feeling, L for learn, O for option, and then W for wow. So I'll just take you through each of those steps. So how do you identify the story that you want to tell is by identifying the feeling that you want to have that you want your customer to feel at the end of the email. So do you want to leave them inspired? Do you want to leave them ready to go? What's the feeling they want to have at the end of this email? So if you can tap into the emotion of it, then you can figure out the story that you want to tell to get them to arrive at that point. Then the next letter is L, learn. And learn is typically for the offer that you want to give them. And so that could be your coaching course. That could be a blog post you want them to read. That can be follow me on Instagram. But what is it's going to be very clear. It's going to be very obvious that this was the whole point of this email, was to learn this piece of information. Then O is option. We want to bring them to a decision point. That is the kindness of really good sales. Because when you are compassionate about the person who is buying from you, you really want to solve their problem. You're serious about that. You recognize that maybe they're stuck and they can't move forward in their life. Or maybe their child can't sleep at night and you've got the perfect sleep solution. Whatever it is, you are solving a problem. So when you care about that deeply, the kindest thing you can do is help somebody arrive at the decision of saying yes or no to it. Unkind is making them say, well, maybe, yeah, eventually I'll get around to it one day. Don't do that. You don't do that to people. Make it clear. So that's what O is we're going to bring them to a very clear decision point. And then the W is for wow. So we're going to wow them in our email. That can be done by visuals in the email. That can be done with adding emojis, or even just telling a really fantastic story in there. That can be a great way to wow your audience. So wow is just kind of like the sprinkles on top of the sundae.
Yeah.
So I would love to show your audience what a story flow email looks like. So I'd love it if you're up for it. We'll take one of your stories, and it literally is any story in your life, any story at all you can tell. It can be as mundane as brushing your teeth. It doesn't have to be a big trip that you took or some big moment, but it can be. So it's any story you want to tell me.
Okay. So I'm going to literally tell you a story?
You're literally going to tell me a story right now, and I'll write you an email off the top of my head.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
For real.
So
So for those who
you
can't
put me on the spot. Okay. What am I gonna? Okay.
Put you
Okay.
on the
So the first thing off my head, just because I'm a mindset coach, going through a traumatic event, and trying to figure out like, where do I go? How do I move forward? Right. So finding out that my marriage is coming to an end, because my now ex-husband had an affair, with his ex-wife. So just facing that reality and just battling with myself internally. Do I stay? Do I go? Do I work this out? What's safe? What's best for us? And then, having so long of a separation and coming to that realization that it's probably best that we part ways, and then trying to figure out, okay, what does my life look like from here? And working through my limiting beliefs, my self-sabotaging patterns, working through my junk to figure out what my responsibility and what my part of this was, because it wasn't just, his actions that led to this. I had a lot of part in it too. So working through that healing, and then finding myself, finding my strength, and realizing that I'm called to greater and that God doesn't make a mistake, and finding my faith, my strength in my faith, and then bringing me to, a new chapter in my life and business ownership and speaking life into other people and encouraging other people that have gone through trauma, that are going through trauma or that might go through it, harnessing their faith and their confidence and their skills and their gifts, because God created us to do something for the world.
Wow, you've got so much passion, Lorraine. Like I can hear it. I can hear it.
Thank you.
So this is great. So so you heard me when you started to share, I kept saying, wow, wow. So actually the wow factor here is going to be your vulnerability in this story.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So tell me one of your offers, first of all. What is one offer that you currently have for people who want to work on mindset with you? Is it one-on-one coaching? Do you have a coaching?
They can do one-on-one coaching. Yep. There's different programs as far as the length of time. My offer could be 3 months, 6 months, or a year. And then obviously the speaking engagement. So if someone, corporation or business wants me to speak to a group of people.
Okay, great. So I'm going to do the 6-month coaching program, and we're going to make that the offer. And so audience, this is again off the top of my head. Normally we'd massage the story a little bit more, but for right now, I'm just showing you the story flow method. So I would actually take this and be really vulnerable with it. So we want to handle this story gently, but we also want to really open up the fact that your mindset coach, you have the authority to speak into this because you've lived through it, right? Mm-hmm. So I would take it and I would drop it right into the action of this story. And I would start the email something like, it was absolutely silent. The room was quiet and I was all left to myself. The realization was clear. My marriage was over. After months and months of fighting with myself, wondering, should I stay? Should I go? What does this mean for me as a Christian? What does this mean for me as a wife? What does this mean for my life? I have finally arrived at the decision I never thought I'd have to make. I've had to battle so many decisions to get here. And even now, as I'm honest with myself, I'm wondering, do I have the strength to do it? Have you ever found yourself in a moment like this? Have you ever found yourself in a place where when you're totally honest with yourself, you realize you still have some really big mountains to climb in your mind? Well, I've been there and I can help you through it. Grab my hand. Book a call with me today, and let's talk about a 6-month journey that will take you from your lowest moment to a high peak.
That is amazing.
So that would be
Holy Toledo. Good thing they're recording this.
Right? Yeah. Go ahead and use that. You'd see, right? Like we would massage that story a little bit more, right? But you can see how as soon as, what did we want to take people to? So we wanted to leave them in an uplifted place. So I would probably maybe go back in that email and say, it's been 1 or 2 years since that decision, or however long since that decision. And I can't believe the life I'm living today. When I can say with confidence, God restores all things. And then I'd list what I'm doing. Now now I have a business. Now I have a purpose. Now I'm helping other women. I never thought that was possible. Yeah. And then I go back and say, have you ever found yourself that way? Have you ever found yourself? Well, I can help you move from this point to the mountaintop. And together we can say, the Lord is good. Yeah. Right. So you could have really powerful email where people are meeting you in that moment of pain, because we've all had a moment in our life where it's been silent, it's been still, and we've been honest with ourselves, and we're like, I've done everything I could, and this isn't going to go the way I thought it was going to go. Yeah. Right. So we meet you in that moment, and we're sad with you and we're grieving with you. But then when you start to declare like, oh, this is who God is, and he lifted me up and he's the lifter of my head, then the person's like, oh, that could be my reality too. Yeah. And then when it says book a call, you're like, yes, I'm clear on this. Yeah. Or like, let's get on a phone call and talk about what your future could look like. That'd be a great call to action, right? Like, let's get on a phone call and talk what your future could look like. Then you could sell them on the call in the 3-month or the 6-month package. Right. But that's the power of the story flow method, is you take a story, you drop people right in the middle of the action of it. And it doesn't have to be a long story. Like, some emails could be really massaged out with a great story like that. A couple weeks ago, I wrote an email to my email list that was like, I tried lavender lemonade for the first time in my life. 2 pumps of lavender in the lemonade, life changed. And then, and then I transitioned to like, hey, have you ever tried something unexpected? And all of a sudden you're seeing the same old normal thing in a brand new light. Well, your marketing can be like that when you work with me on the story flow method, right? So you can see that it was just
You're so good at it. Like you are so seamless at it. Like, I'm hearing you and I'm like, yes, that's yes. And then I'm like, why can't I do that?
Well, you can. And the truth is you can. It's just a skill that when you can recognize, again, it's recognizing the emotion that you want people to have, then literally you can take any story, because I could take that exact same story about you being in the place of struggle, and instead of dropping it in this moment of silence or this moment of realization of honesty, we could take frustration and be like, we could start it at, I've tried everything. I feel like I'm banging my head against the wall. I can't get anywhere with this, and then transition it to like, have you been there? Have you felt like you've done everything and you still can't get anywhere? You needed a new perspective. You needed to step away. Well, that's what mindset coaching is. You take a moment and you step away and you look at the picture fully, right? So you can take, as long as you identify the emotion, then you can look at your story and say, okay, how can I look at the emotion in that story, pull it out, and help them see the picture, help them see that emotion in this story, and then transition it to the emotion you want them to have, which is excitement or hopefulness. I mean, sometimes it can be like, I'm going to plant my flag in the ground and we're all standing on this thing and we're not going to take it anymore. Join with me, sisters. Let's link arms and we're not going to take it. Yeah. So it's really about like, what emotion do you want people to have? And you can take them from one point to the next and really empower them. And this is how sales is done really seamlessly, right? Because I've taken you from a place where you've been feeling like, oh, I really identify with that. I felt really lost in my life. I felt really confused. And then we transition it to like, that's why you need mindset coaching. It's because when you're in those lost places, you believe lies about yourself. So when you come over and you do mindset coaching, all we're doing is uncovering those lies, looking at the trauma that's kind of informed that. And we're saying, no, God's word actually says this. You don't have to believe that anymore. God actually sees you this way, and he wants you to see yourself that way. Yeah. So yeah, anyway, I could go on and on about it, but I do teach a course.
You do. I'm sorry. Say that again. You teach courses?
I do teach a course on it. Okay. Yeah, on the story flow method and stuff. So if you follow me on Instagram, the Holly C. Williams, that's where you can find me for sure. I am going to be promoting that in the next little while, where you'll see a lot of my course and join it and learn how to write this way. And it makes email writing so much fun, where you've been maybe stuck It makes it
Yeah.
really fun. And then I've got a lot of AI helps in there so that if you're like, well, I don't even know what to write and I'm not a
Yeah.
storyteller. Well, that's
Yeah.
okay. AI is a great storyteller and I'll teach you how to teach it to tell great
So,
stories.
so how do you think that AI has shown up in this now for you and for other copywriters?
Oh,
For you as a copywriting expert, but for people like myself who are not a copywriting expert and who maybe struggle. Like I know and I love AI. And at first, so okay, I'm going to try and make sure I hone this in because I know I'm going to go everywhere with this. When AI first came out, I was
yeah.
extremely intimidated. Well, truth be told, my
Mhm.
husband was like, "You are not going to get it. It's the devil." And I'm like, hold on a second. Let's think about this. So at first I was like, a little bit leery, but then I was extremely intimidated because I'm like, I don't even know what to do. I don't know what to say. I don't want to ask. Da, 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 da. And then I started using it and I became more and more comfortable and I absolutely love it. And now I'm back to another phase of overwhelm because there's so many different versions of AI now. They can do so many
Yeah.
things. I don't know the right things to ask it. So,
Right.
how have you seen it show up? And has it, obviously, it's a tool for you and it's been a good thing,
Mhm.
but um, as far as like people reaching out to you for your expertise or just going to AI and using them, have you seen a shift in that?
Yeah, yeah. I remember I like when it first came out, intimidated is a great word. I was depressed, I think, for a month. I was like, I'll never have a job again, you know. And then I realized like, okay, well, it's machine learning. It's very predictive. It's not like considered true artificial intelligence.
Mm.
So once I learned that, I was like, okay, this can actually really help me do my first draft. This can help me really write things quicker, faster. And so that's where it's really helped me. But it cannot teach you nuanced emotion. Like that's what AI can't do, right? So
Right.
that's why I really emphasize the story flow is because if you
Mm.
can learn emotion, you can learn sales, you can do really great sales. But with AI, you can also teach it how to speak like you, right? So just some practical tips for your listeners is I would, if I'm on ChatGPT, whenever I get a new client, the first thing I do is I tell it its job, right? So I'll say, you are an expert copywriter. Your first job is to learn about the brand voice of this company. And then I'll say, you need to learn the brand values. And then I'll say, here is the customer we want to serve. And then I'll teach it here is the desires of our customer. Here are objections of the customer. And then each time that I do it, I say, summarize it so I know you understand. And then it shows me that. And then once I've kind of put in all that initial information, then I say, okay, write me one email that introduces the world to who we are. And so I'll see it and then I'll check to see like, does it actually understand everything? And is it really
Wow.
representing us well? And is it talking in the voice tone and the brand that I want it to be
Mm.
speaking in? And then once we put that nailed down, then I start to plug in like, okay, let's have some fun with this. Okay, I need 10 titles for this, or I'm coming up with a product name. Can you give me 25 options for this? I need alternatives for this word. I don't like using this word with the brand. Can you tell me 5 other words that could represent this as well? So
Wow.
it's really fun. And then, yeah, and you use it for keywords and everything. Like, so it's really sped up my research and
Yeah.
it's allowed us to work a lot faster, which is great. But at the same point too, there's sometimes where you're like, you know what, I can just sit down and write this email myself because I've been doing it for so long. I know what I
Yeah.
need to say to my audience. So I'm just going to sit down and write it. So
Yeah.
it is a really great tool, especially for people who feel like they just got that blinking cursor in front of them, or if they feel like, well, I'm great at talking, but I'm horrible. Yeah, I'm horrible
Totally.
at like writing.
Yeah.
And even with that, I mean, like they've got even Google, even in your Google Drive, right? You can put on Google typing and you could just talk a whole bunch and say what you want to say, copy and paste that, put it into Chat GPT and say, hey,
Oh,
Chat
wow.
GPT, can you make this sound better? Can you finesse this? Can you
Mm.
smooth out these words? Or what are the main concepts in here? And it'll pull out everything that you said. Here's the main concepts. And then say, can you write an email around that? and then it'll write an email around it. You can copy and paste that and just
Yeah.
tweak it with your words.
Yeah.
So there's what I want to make clear with it is that there's no reason you can't do the thing that's in your heart that you want to get done. And whatever the obstacle is for you right now, if you're like, oh, I can't write, there is a solution for that. There is a workaround for that. And it's just a matter of you facing it and saying, okay, I don't like it, but I got to learn to do this. And then once you create a little system for it, you'll actually get excited about it.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And I mean, I'm definitely a result of that, because it was not very long ago when I was first working with my coach where I'm just like, I have no idea what to say. I know what I do and I know how I can help people, but I don't know how to convey that to people. And yeah, I'm still blown away with ChatGPT, and I haven't even gotten into any of the other AIs, but
oh yeah. Yeah,
I'm so totally missing, like, you just blew my mind explaining all that, how you got it to learn and you're giving it all this information. You went from A to Z with it. I jump in on A, I give it a little bit, and then I'm like, okay, Z. And I'm like, that's not what I wanted. Well, now I know why, because I didn't give it everything in between.
That's right. Yeah. And then you get to choose, like, especially in the mindset space, right? You've got a lot of woo-woo ideology that's out there. And so you have to say, okay, I need to really be careful on my terms, because I know for myself as a believer, whenever I've looked for a mindset coach, I'm looking for certain language to make sure I'm like, okay, they're into woo-woo stuff. I don't want to be doing that.
Right.
Or, for somebody who's looking maybe for a mindset coach that is like trauma informed or stuff, like that's where your language and your nuances can come in, right? So ChatGPT can be really helpful for that. You can ask like, hey, what are a list of woo-woo mindset words? And then it'll give you a list and say, okay, I never want to use these words.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you do a course on AI and how to use AI?
Well, my StoryFlow class has aspects of that. So it's pretty comprehensive. It teaches you even how to set up your email marketing and all of that. So I'm really excited to be releasing it. And it sounds like from you, I need to maybe create a lead magnet on like how to just train your AI to start talking like you so that you can write better.
Yeah. I think that would be a great idea. I definitely would do that.
I'm writing it down right now. Look at you, Lorraine. You're already helping me with your coaching.
Earlier when you were talking about the flow and how you want to transition, so the email, how you want to transition to the emotion that you want them to have. But backing up to when you're writing in that emotion, whether it be fear or the frustration or the somber, that beginning information or that beginning emotion in copywriting, would that change? Because I know you can change it in your email, but that beginning emotion, is that based off of the person writing it? Is it based off of their market research, the client that they want to attract, or what would you, that beginning emotion, what would you suggest?
So there's two ways you can do it. You can totally do the opposite emotion that you want them to end with, or you can do the same emotion, right? So it's really where you want to take them. So again, it's with the client in mind. So if your offer, let's say you're, what did you say? You do speaking events for mindset coaching, right? So you could talk about just the excitement of having a full room, right? So then like just the excitement of when everybody who works with you suddenly has a shift in thinking, what could happen in your organization, right? So there's that hopefulness, is a feeling of potential. So then I would take the idea of the opposite of feeling of that, right? When you feel like everyone's stuck in a rut. Or I would take the same emotion, which is just like, whoa, I just got done I just was listening to this song in my car and it just pumps me up. You know that feeling when you're pumping the air, you get out and you're just walking tall because you just listened to a great bop or whatever, and say like, What if that happened in your organization, right? So you can just take that emotion that you're wanting them to feel. So it is really about the customer and what you want them to feel. What we did with that first example is we took your vulnerability, right? We took your story and we opened up their eyes to a little bit of your story, and they were able to identify with that emotion. And then we transitioned it into like the hopefulness that they could have. Does that make sense? That answer you?
Yes, yes, absolutely. I was just trying to figure out, I'm sorry if you can hear my dogs right now. They're going crazy. I don't know what just happened. We'll edit that out. Yes, I was trying to figure out, as far as the starting place, the starting emotion, what someone should hone in on. If it's their
I wouldn't
ICA, like,
overthink it too much. I would think about what is the ending emotion. That's the one that you want, and then just either decide you're gonna stick with that emotion the whole way through, or you're gonna just do the opposite and just kind of connect. And because every story has all elements of it, right? Like even running out. Let's say you forgot to take your vitamins in the morning, and you're serious about taking your vitamins, right? So you could talk about like, oh, I missed like this wonderful sense of routine that always makes me feel grounded and balanced. And I feel like I'm giving myself a life check mark, And so like, that's a happy thing. Or you could tap into the frustration of that story. Like, I can't believe I did it again. Like I'm trying to build a routine here. I'm trying to get strong. I'm trying to do all the right things and I just can't move forward. Every story has quite a varied amount of emotions. So you just get to tap into the emotion in that story.
That's awesome. There was another question that I had. Oh, I remember. What are some common mistakes that you see with entrepreneurs, people trying to do either content creation, copywriting, or even email copywriting? What are some common mistakes that you see throughout that?
Yeah, common mistakes are to talk a lot about yourself and what it means to you. Like, of course, if you've done created a course, like there's nothing wrong with saying like, this was birthed over many tears, that's fine. But for a lot of people, they really don't care. They want to know what's in it for them, right? So you can share that story, especially if it's close to your heart. Like, of course, share that. But like, I would do it in one piece at a time. Like, I'm so excited to introduce this to you guys. This has been months in the making. This idea came to me when I had a conversation with one of the clients and I realized I've been missing a really big piece of the puzzle. That's great. Stop there. You don't have to go into like, and then I learned this and then I tried that. No, save that for another email, or save that for your social media. Weave that through. Your story is to be weaved through what is always supposed to be preeminent. And this works really great as Christians, is how can we serve you? What is the thing that you care about? How can we come alongside and serve you? So if you really have the other person's best interest in mind, that's going to dominate the conversation of your copy. That would be the first thing. The second thing is that they try too many things. Like, just focus. Like as I said earlier, master one social media platform and then do another and then do another. Like, just get really good at doing one thing. Create systems, create a rhythm. And then once that's in place, move on to the next thing, because you are doing it by yourself. And if you start to do everything, you lose the momentum of seeing progress happen and traction.
Yeah. That's awesome. Such good stuff. I want to make sure I'm writing notes down, keeping track of time.
Right? Talk forever.
I know. You mentioned it a couple of times. What was the book about?
Oh, my book? Oh,
yeah.
It was called The Restoration of Emma Carmichael. So it was, I had always wanted to write a book. I think I started writing it when I was 30. And I remember being really depressed when I was 30. I was like, I never wrote a book. I'm old and I'm 30. I've done nothing with my life. So I was just like, well, you just kind of had this someday mentality, like one day I'll get around to it. And I was like, I just need to do it. And I don't even know what I was doing. So I just sat down and like started writing this story. And it was really cool because it was something that I really felt I got to participate with the Holy Spirit in a way that I'd never done before. So I would pray all the time before I'd write, sit down, start writing, and the Holy Spirit started giving me ideas. And I remember the time in my book where all of a sudden I wrote this line that indicated that my character was somebody who cut herself. And I knew nothing about cutting. I knew nothing about that at all. So I paused the book, spent a lot of time researching it, reading stories about people who cut, came to understand it. And I was like, oh my goodness, this book could totally go in a different direction. So started writing that. And it was just really exciting. I actually haven't read it. You read your book, when you write a book, you read your book so many times. And this is actually my 10-year anniversary of the book. And so on my
congratulations.
on my summer bucket list is to read the book again and to try not to cringe. But I've had a lot of people tell me that if you're cringing, that's good. It means you've grown. You don't want to read your former work and be like, oh, this is so amazing. There should be moments where you're like, hey, that's not bad. Hey, I had something there. But there should be moments where you're like, oh no, because you've progressed and you've learned.
Yeah, absolutely. So how what was, so other than you having a bucket list of, item of, I want to write a book, how did that, do you think that that's gonna, would you do another one now that you did the book as a bucket list item, and then now you've transitioned to copywriting, so you know more about it? Would you ever do another book? Is it?
I have, with ChatGPT now, I've got several little mini novel ideas that I'm plotting out. I actually, it is on my bucket list to write a Hallmark movie script. And so I have two what's called spit drafts. I have 2 spit drafts done up, and I need to just commit to one and just be like, no, I am going to dedicate one day of writing to that. So I've been saying that for a year now. So I feel like it's time to either do it or just stop talking about it. You commit to this or it's, just stop telling yourself you're going to do it. Either do it or be honest with yourself and say you won't. So I really want to do it. So I have to make the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. I have it in the back of my head. So I don't know if you're familiar with John Maxwell, but he talks a lot about, goals and growth goals and, obviously physical goals of obtaining certain things. But writing a book is definitely a growth goal of mine. And I don't talk about it. I don't tell people because I feel like the more I talk about it and tell people, I'll be in the same situation of okay, Lorraine, you keep talking about it. When are you going to do it? So, but it's definitely on the top.
Can we just take a couple minutes? Can I coach you on something for just a couple minutes? Okay, the audience too. So audience, those who want to write a book, listen up.
Yeah.
So you're going to go to ChatGPT and you're going to say, hey, you are an expert book editor. Your job is to help me craft a book. I want a book outline. Here are the topics that I want to write about. Help me organize my thoughts. And just start plugging away a bunch of thoughts in there and just hit enter. And it'll help organize things. It can help you find connections of ideas. It'll, when you're like, okay, I want, typically if you're writing a book that is a nonfiction book, right, you're always starting that book with a really powerful story because we are people who love to communicate through story. So you'll start with this really big story, usually your crisis moment story. And then talk about how it birthed you into where you're going now, right?
Yeah.
So you can ask ChatGPT, okay, how can I talk about mindset issues? How can I group these topics together? And can you put them into chapter titles? Can you give me ideas for chapter titles? It will do all of the layout work for you. And then it can even help write your first draft. You're just telling it what you want it to write. And you can even give it, let's say you've written a personal email to Lorraine, to somebody that you love. You can copy and paste that email in there and say, this is how I sound. This is how I talk. Can you give me an example of my own words back to me? And it'll, send you something and you're like, that's actually pretty accurate to how I talk. So then now you can train this book to help you, or this AI learning machine to help write this book for you. So what it does is, rather than you just sitting down and doing all of the manual typing yourself, it's really helping you flesh out a first draft. And
Yeah.
everybody's first draft is always rough. So that's perfect. You can take that and you'll see when you read what ChatGPT puts out, you're like, oh, I would never say that concept that way. And then you will get in there and it'll inspire you and your creativity will start flowing. And you're like, this is how I want to say it.
Yeah.
So and it provides this structure when you don't know what to do. It'll provide, like, a lot of times when I'm teaching people how to do newsletters, I'll say, can you write this out in a chart? And it'll do like, you know, like like almost like a spreadsheet for you if you ask it to, right? And it'll organize ideas and everything. So yeah, there's no reason you can't do that dream that you have.
I know. And so you start with telling it it's a expert book editor.
An expert book editor. Yeah. Or you can ask it that it's an expert nonfiction writer. You just tell it what you need it to do. And that's its skill set. And then you train it on the skills or on the information that you want it to write about. Right. So again, and it can even be your coach. You can say, okay, you are my book writing coach. Draft a 6-month timeline for me to write my book. And then it'll, do that. And it'll say month 1, you should do this. And then you can get really minute with it. Okay, let's plan out month 1, plan it down to the day, plan it down to the week, and it'll tell you everything that you should be writing. Yeah. And so you've got a plan, right? Yeah. Most people just don't know what to do because they don't have a plan. So that's where ChatGPT can come in and be really helpful, can provide some structure for you.
Structure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That was one of the things that I was talking to my husband about today, because ironically, I guess not ironic because AI is huge right now. It was on the news. We went out to breakfast and there was a TV and there was talking about, AI. And I said, I'm worried for the younger generation because it's going to take the learning out of it. They're not going to really research. They're going to use this computer, the AI, to research, and takes the creativity and, all that stuff for kids, because they, instead of using it as a tool, they're using it to do it, But then my husband's like, it's going to take the jobs away from everybody. And I'm just like, no, not really, because it's not a person. There's no emotion. Yeah. So like, there's still a lot.
Like any other, it's like any other industry, right? There's jobs are going to be replaced, but I mean, jobs were replaced when factories came in. Jobs have been replaced like for years and years with new technology. Yeah. So we get to innovate, we get to create new jobs, and it's just change, and people don't like change. We also need to be mindful, right? Because it's like, I want to be on it early so I can help shape the algorithm, so I can help shape the way that it's being created, right? If we don't have Christians on this, if we have Christians running away saying, oh, it's the devil, then who's informing the information on it? Right? So let's be a part of this. Let's start working with the technology and just learning more about ethical uses of it. We never want to have it do all of our work and then just copy and paste it and put it in there. A lot of people have asked me as a copywriter, like, hey, you're using this tool. Are you okay charging people your same rates? Because you're using a tool to help you write. Yeah. And the truth is I've been using AI for years. Like, I've been using tone analyzers, and I use AI, been recording calls and interviews to, do all the stuff that I used to do by hand. So So there's a lot of AI that's been going in. I just see it as another tool, right? That's helped me write faster. So,
Right.
Yeah. And it inspires creativity for me. I thought it would, and I thought it would take it away, but instead, I'll say, come up with 10 headlines for this. And they'll come up with one really good idea. And I'm like, ooh, I want to take that. And, I've got another idea that I can match that with. And, this will be really exciting. There's so many things that it can really help with.
Yeah, I totally agree. I'm so glad. One of I think it was Alex Hormozi that I saw, he made a video when ChatGPT was launched and first came out. And he was saying this is the wave of the future. And if you want to go to the future and you want to increase your business and, then you need to get on. You need to get on board and figure it out. And that was one of the things that definitely shifted my perspective, because I'm like, I don't want to be left behind. And it's not a FOMO thing. It's more of God's given me a gift, a talent, a purpose. I don't want to not use it for my own either fear or ignorance, because this is the way the world is going. And like you said, if Christians shy away from it, and then it's going to be shaped by people that, you know what I mean? So
people have different morals and all of that. And what's neat about it too is like this AI is to the digital landscape was what social media was. So if you remember how Facebook completely changed everything about business, this is what AI is. So if you need a comparison, right? Within our generation, it's like, this is the thing that's going to change it. And like, 5 years from now, where we're totally worried about our teens being on cell phones right now, as we well should be, our discussion is going to be different. It's going to be about AI and how they're interacting with AI. And there's just, there's so many exciting things that are happening with technology. So if you really love it, a great person to follow is Matt Wolf. He is, I love following Matt. He's loves AI and he's really great. He's got incredible YouTube videos. And he tries out all the different AIs all the time and shows you how they work. So he kind of does all that heavy lifting for you. And then then you can watch his videos and just kind of get caught up on like, okay, well, what's actually happening in the digital landscape? Because especially if you're in work like I do, you're coming onto teams and they're like, oh yeah, well, we're using Midjourney for graphics now. And you're like, oh, okay, that's really cool. What is Midjourney? And then you realize like, an AI generated like phenomenal graphics, right? So it's really neat, the things that you can learn and just how you can, like, again, there's no reason your business or the dream that's in your heart can't grow, and you can't make it profitable to where you get the team members to do those extra jobs so you can just focus on your zone of genius.
Probably one of the last questions here, because I know we need to wrap up. This has been incredible. I absolutely love it. What are some advice or tips that you have for purpose-driven entrepreneurs or online businesses that want to improve their email marketing and increase conversions? What are some tips and strategies that you have for that?
Yeah. Well, my first one for your business is to really pray and ask the Lord to be part of your business, like that he's really someone you do business with. Because a lot of times we feel like, oh, God's given me this vision. Thanks, Jesus. I'll just go over here and do that thing you called me to do. And he's like, well, I actually, like, I thought it was an us thing. Like, I want to walk with you. Right. So there's a lot of things, a lot of times we run off to do things for God. And this is really a to do with. So that would be the first thing I encourage your listeners to do. And then the second, when we're talking about email marketing, is to just commit to a day, just once a week. The more you email your list and like with really good content, like your income totally increases, right? Like from 1 day to 2 day to 3 times a week, 5 days a week, the income is really reflective of that. But just even once a week, or if that feels too much, even twice a month. So there's one lady I follow, she's excellent at her work, and she only sends out an email every other week, and she calls it the fortnightly because it's a fortnight, she's sending it out once every 2 weeks. And she does such excellent work that when she gives you that email, you are so excited for it to show up because it's only twice, but that what's contained in it is really excellent. So if you can make a commitment either to once a week or twice a month to send out an email, and we don't have to overthink it. Sometimes it can just be, hey, I had a really successful Instagram post over here. I don't know if you guys saw it. And then just include one tip that wasn't in the Instagram post, but, send them over to the Instagram post to watch it, but include one little tidbit that's a little bit more. So that's one thing you could do a little bit extra just to get your feet wet. And put yourself out there a little bit.
Yeah. What about for increasing your email list?
Yeah. So there's a couple of ways to do that. You can, if you want to grow quickly, then you want to get on podcasts, right? Where you're going to invite people to, hey, get my download. But there's also, go and serve another person's community. So I'll do a lot of workshops for, like I get paid for that workshop. But then when I'm there, I promote what I'm doing. And because I'm giving so much value, people like it goes like 50 people at a time, right? 50, 60, however many people are in the workshop. Like I gain a whole bunch of followers every time I do that. So that's a great way. Collaborations, be a part of a bundle. There's how many Facebook groups that are doing bundles, and right now with the economic landscape, there's a lot of people who are doing low ticket offers. So being a part of a bundle is a really great option, because we're, if somebody's spending $97, but they're getting like, the mindset bundle, and it's got like people who've got like, the love mindset, the marriage mindset, the money mindset, the fitness mindset. You do a little bundle like that, you're going to get lots of people onto your email list who are interested in mindset stuff, right? So just being part of collaborations, and I mean, still do lives, still do your whole Instagram or Facebook, wherever you're marketing, still do those, because they're a great way to grow your audience. But if you want to grow quickly, grow with other people. Do things with other people.
Yeah. That reminds me of a quote. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with many.
Go together.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Okay. So tell us, you had mentioned a workshop coming up. What else are you doing right now? Where can people find you? What are you launching or creating? How can my listeners?
So I actually subscribe to the laser focus approach. I will be pushing everything towards my story flow method all the time. It's like, join my story flow method. But that's being said, I always run like little workshops and things like that. So really the best place to get me is hollycwilliams.com. And depending on when this goes to air, I'm still working on my website with my designers. So you might just find the landing page and you can sign up for the story flow method, or you might actually get my website that is like the new reveal.
Yeah.
And you can also find me on Instagram. That is the one platform I'm laser focused on right now. And that is the Holly C. Williams. So that's where you'll find me. And I love to give, there's lots of tips there. I love to give away templates on there. I love to give away subject line ideas. And if you don't know how to talk to your audience, then or if you haven't emailed your audience in a really long time, then go find me on Instagram. I actually have a post that is, what do I say, if I haven't talked to them in a long time, and I give you the complete template, and you can just jump right back in and start your email marketing again.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Holly. It has been amazing. We could have gone for a few more hours, right? Probably. I will include all the links.
So let's put this out. Yeah, let's put this out here for your audience. If they really enjoyed this, and if they're currently doing email marketing, I'd be happy to come back and talk about some more advanced or middle strategies, because I do a lot of advanced strategies, but we can just do middle strategies even. So if people have questions, like send them to Lorraine and we'll get on here together and we'll talk you through how you can boost your engagement and increase ROI for yourself.
Yes. So we'll do another one. Awesome. Well, it's been a pleasure. I absolutely loved talking with you. I love what you're doing. You are an incredible, gifted human being, and God is doing big things in your life. So I'm excited to see all of this unfold, and I'm excited to be a new friend and follower and a part of your journey now.
Oh, thanks so much for having me, Lorraine. I loved every minute of it.
Yes. All right. Until next time. Bye, guys.